Hey guys, hope everybody had a good new year. This year I'll be focusing more on tutorials, as I can see they are the most viewed of my content, and I believe I can bust them out every couple weeks while adding more value to my viewers, so I hope you all stay tuned. This tutorial will feature how to draw feathers in pencil, and there are many applications for drawing feathers in art, whether it's for birds or fantasy subjects. Understanding the structure and function of feathers is also a valuable lesson in how they work in life and how they appear in light and texture. And the overall structure of a feather is made up of keratin, a structural protein that makes up the skin of reptiles and human hair and nails. And the central shaft of a feather is called a quill. And from that shaft grows barbs and barbules which interlock with each other to maintain overall shape. Now there are several modified feather types in birds, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to stick to about 5 of them, as those are the most commonly visible. When drawing these feathers, it's important to note the central shaft is going to be located dead center of each. These feathers are typically arranged in a fan pattern, whereas other feather types, it is off-center. I'm going to stick to the more simplified version of tail feathers, as there are many variations of more elaborate types. I like to add lines angled upward to denote the texture of the hair-like structures of the feather. If drawing a singular feather, there's usually fluff towards the bottom, which is similar to a down feather. And when drawing these and other feathers with the context of a wing, these parts aren't usually visible. Flight feathers are straight, sometimes with a subtle curve, with narrowing tips. And the tips can both be rounded or pointed. Some birds will possess specific traits, and these feathers specialize to the style of flight. Contour feathers are smaller and function as an overlapping covering for the bird's body, while offering streamlining and weatherproofing. There are smaller versions of flight feathers, though a little more broad in shape. These can be straight with a somewhat curve depending on where the area they're located on a bird's body. These feather types serve as insulation for birds and typically hides underneath the other layers of larger feathers. Semi-plumes have a normal feather structure about halfway down, where it turns into wiry, downy feathers. And then down feathers are very thin central shaft with a fluffy white to gray fibers in many directions. You can see these feathers a lot if you look underneath the main feathers, but they're typically just kind of nothing but fluff. Fallen feather is a pretty easy type to draw, as it lends itself to a curve. You can start with the shaft to establish the curve of the feather. About halfway through, start drawing the upper half of the feather with a line to represent the remaining shaft. Outline the rest of the feather, thicker toward the bottom and wispy before the shaft. I began with the overall shape of the wing, starting from the shoulder all the way to the wrist. The bottom portion I keep rounded as a guide for the wing feather lengths. I draw the upper wing feathers, which are smaller and where the longer feathers will grow from. Branching out from there are the second layer of feathers that are the secondary flight feathers. After that, the longer flight feathers are drawn and have a more pronounced spread between them. Sometimes they are referred to as finger-like when held out. Here I add shadowing between the layers of feathers so that you can see an implied shadow there. That's typically what you'll see with these layers of feathers as they overlap each other. I hope this will help others approach drawing feathers more clearly as they move through their artistic journey. Stay tuned for more.